Okay, I think people need a visual example. So, I have this here. This is a bell curve. This is a natural bell curve, and what you might expect in any sort of online, rank system. Typically, how it works, right? And typically, how it works is you have placement matches, which will place you either a couple from the top or a couple divisions from the bottom, right? So let's say, in a normal situation with normal games and what your perception of what you think the games are supposed to be like is like this, right? So here you have placement matches. Those 10 matches are super important. Like in Overwatch, you have 10 matches that will greatly determine how far of a head start you get. But now you see how much more evenly spread out this is in terms of starting either people close to the top or close to the bottom. Now, because of the fact that diamond is considered like sort of the middle here, uh, you have people that could get placed as high as like let's say celestial 3 or as low as gold 1, right? But now let's say you want to get the players, these ranks are essentially empty, right? There's nobody here. The people in celestial who got placed in celestial or grandmaster are now fighting for these ranks. And it takes 1, 2 rounds in order to get those ranks filled up, right? Uh, and then 2 more rounds for bronze and silver, right? That's only 2 rounds in order at 2 rounds after placements in order to fill up those ranks, before it starts to feel, like the matches are a bit more stable, right? But now let's look at how Marvel Rivals does things. So we're gonna move everything over here, right? So now Marvel Rivals starts everyone in, uh, from bronze to gold, right? Now now there's 1 round, but the platinum players win, the future one above all players go to platinum, and then they push everyone else back down to gold. But the thing is, if you got pushed down to gold, that doesn't mean you deserve to be there. It means you got shoved down by people who aren't supposed to be there. So it takes another round. So this is the second round, and now they're only at diamond. But now those players have shoved everyone from diamond back down into platinum, and those platinum players have shoved everyone back down to gold, etc. Right? So you take a third round, and they move to grandmaster, and this process repeats. You take a fourth round, it goes to celestial. A fifth round, they go to eternity, and by the sixth round, then finally, you have players in one above all. But throughout the entire process, every player who was better was constantly pushing the other one back down to a rank that they technically didn't belong at, right? But throughout the entire time, your perception of what Grandmaster is supposed to be changes because of the fact that the Grandmaster that you felt at the mid-season was, "Oh, these players were so much better. They were so much more, so all the players I used to play with were so much better. It's so much they were so much more, they knew what they were doing." Well, yeah, because once again, the all of the players that were racing for these top ranks hadn't fully gotten there yet. So they kept pushing everyone back down along the way. It took 6 times as long to fill out the higher ranks than if you were to start in the middle and have placement matches. This is what I'm trying to get at with people is that people's perception of what the ranks are supposed to mean changes over time because that's just how the system works. Uh, you have people uh, asking for a rank reset, but all the rank reset is going to do is it's going to shove everyone back down to these bottom ranks and then repeat the process again where the future eternity celestial one above all players start pushing everyone back down again, right? You're not upset at like, oh, like these players are inflated or they're boosted or they don't belong to be, they don't deserve to be there. They do, right? As the ranks get filled out more and start to settle back in, I assume that this eventual graph going like this is going to try and create its own bell curve, but it would just take significantly longer because there's no placement matches. Uh, so this is not a problem of like, oh, there's some sort of system that's like broken or it doesn't feel the same. It's just that the system is much more fluid than other systems, right? Than other rank systems. Uh, And one comment which I just responded to was saying that like, "Oh, well, on my alt account, I have a 46% win rate and I still managed to climb to GM." It's like, right, but like what you're not paying attention to is that it tries to give people, especially people who are performing well, more difficult matches up against players who are higher in skill in order to get you out of those low ranks faster because of the fact that everyone starts at the bottom. Like when you create an alt account brand new and you start in bronze 3, it doesn't want to give you 25 points a win because of the fact that it would take you, instead of having placements and starting you up in like Celestial or Grandmaster or Diamond, even, it's starting you at Bronze 3. It does not want you there. And because it detects that you are a better player, it's like, hey, we are going to put you up against better players. We are going to give you your first one. Okay, it was a win. We're going to push you up against players of significant value, significantly higher skill level until we determine where you're supposed to be, right? So when you have a 46% win rate on an alt account, that to me makes sense. Why are you getting more for wins and less for losses? Because it doesn't want you in these ranks. It wants you out as soon as possible. This isn't proof of inflation. This is proof of the system saying, get your alt accounts out of these ranks. Like, we don't need players who are, smurfing from, Grandmaster and Celestial, ruining the experience of these players any more than it already does, right? So when I see accounts that are like, oh, 46% win rate, these players got more for wins, more for losses, or more for wins, less for losses. Like, yes, until they start to get to a point where the games where they start to get to where they're actually supposed to be. And then when they are actually at the point where they're supposed to be, then you notice that the points are about the same. It's 20, 21, 22, 19, 17. It's all generally within that range. It is specifically determined how many points you get uh, uh, based off of the ranks you're going up against and your expected chance of winning versus losing, right? This is not inflation. This is not players not deserving to be where they're at. This is just a misunderstanding of how the system works and expecting it to work like every other game when you should know at the very least that it doesn't work like every other game. Every other game doesn't start you at bronze and makes you race to the top. Every other game starts people at the middle and then evens it out. This is the reason why in other games, it's going to feel a lot more consistent in terms of the difficulty of the rank. But that's the reason why the percentage point is there, is that it is giving you something to race for. It's still showing you progression, right? There is still progression, and it's that percentage base. And if anything, to me, the games still seem just the same or just as fair as they ever have. I am on my way to Celestial a second time, and it's easier this time around because now the ranks are the player distribution is spreading out a little bit more, right? But this isn't to say that like, oh, the rank system is meaningless or whatever. There's no point in ranking up. There is. You are still challenging yourself. You are still going up and trying to win games and climb to higher ranks and fight against better players. Like I have, I still am able to climb, and I don't know what people are talking about when they're just like, oh, it just can't be done. You just can't climb through GM. Like you can. You very much can. Uh, but this is not a flawed system. It also means that like you can't just like race to a rank. Like you can't just like race to a rank like GM, like say you hit GM, right? And it's the top 2% of players. You can't just leave that account there and let it sit now. And this might be one of the reasons why they did that. They might have just said like, hey, a lot of people find they get to the rank and then they just stop playing. Well, what can we do to incentivize them to keep playing? Well, the ranks are at the bottom and everyone's sort of racing to the top. The ranks might shift over time. So you can't just like rush to your rank, sit there and expect the status of that rank to stay the same, right? So this is why I say that I don't believe that players are upset that uh, ranks are inflated. Players are upset that they can't throw around the status of the rank, and just from getting it at the start of the season and then leaving it there. If you want to maintain that status, you need to keep up with all of the other players who are also playing. And even with my limited schedule of making YouTube videos, working a job 9 to 5, uh, and and only playing a few hours here and there, I'm still climbing up through GM with relative ease. So there is no excuse. There's nothing holding you back other than you, right? This is not a flawed system. It just is how it is. And to me, when I see people complaining that they're like, oh, it's not the same like other systems. To me, it looks like you're saying, oh, I don't think this is a very good pie while you're eating while you're eating a slice of cake. Like these are two completely different things, but you're trying to compare them to be the same. Uh, but yeah, I this is I'm hoping that this visualization can help people because of the fact that it's not that the rank system is flawed. It's not that you have boosted players or inflated players on your team. Eventually, after enough matches, everyone is supposed to be exactly where they're supposed to be. And to me, if anything, giving people more points for wins and less for losses, especially when people are admittedly saying on their alt accounts, it's like, yes, that makes sense because I'm sure all of the, bronze through platinum people don't want you in in their ranks any longer than you need to be, right? I'm sure that I'm sure that the teams understand unranked to GMs and they're just like, how can we, if we start everyone at the bottom, how can we make sure that we move players through as fast as humanly possible? And this is how. It's not players that are inflated. It's just the win rates are going to be skewed based off of how quickly it wants to move you through those ranks that you don't deserve to be in. Um, but yeah, it really is just the ranks settling down. And you can still rank up. You can still win games. I've been winning games. I won a game with a 10 and 18 Iron Fist. There's no excuses. Like, if you want to win games, you have to get better. That's it. Um, but yeah, hopefully this visualization helps people because I don't know. To me it makes sense, but I don't know. I don't know why everyone keeps looking at it to be like every other game, but this is I don't know. It's by design it's working as intended as far as I can see. So